For more than 2 decades, Wicked has been a cultural juggernaut, the kind of Broadway phenomenon that doesn't just fill theaters, it rewires pop culture. It's the rare musical whose songs become rites of passage, whose characters rise above the stage and live in the collective bloodstream. And now, with Wicked for Good, we've arrived at the end of a cinematic event too big for just one film. The question is simple. Does Act 2, which is historically the more somber, less crowd-pleasing half, stick the landing? Or does Oz lose a little of its magic on the journey? When Wicked Part 1 hit theaters last year, I'll be honest, as a self-proclaimed superfan, and anyone who knows my history on this channel, and with Ariana Grande's casting specifically, knows that that's not hyperbole, I walked away both appreciative and frustrated. I liked it enough to land at a 7 out of 10 back then, but I did have some real issues, such as the overbearing color grading, the sluggish pacing, and the painfully miscalculated casting of Michelle Yeoh as Madame Morrible. So going into Part 2, I was ready for those flaws to compound, but color me shocked because nearly every single one of them gets course corrected. Except Yeoh, nothing can save that performance. But 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and in this case, 2 out of 3 changes the entire experience. And I can't believe I'm even saying this, but the cinematic adaptation of my least favorite act from the musical, that I've seen on stage 4 times by the way, is now my favorite of the 2 films. Let me break down why. The story picks up after the events of Part 1. Elphaba is now fully realized as the Wicked Witch of the West, a fugitive fighting for the rights of animals who are being systematically silenced and cast out of Oz. Glinda has ascended with her newly added moniker of the Good, a polished public figure molded and manipulated by the wizard and Madame Morrible. And when Dorothy Gale drops into the equation, the story we've always known, the one that the world has known since 1939, finally begins to thread itself into this modern retelling. And here's a bit of a surprise. Act 2's serious reputation actually worked beautifully in cinematic form. What can feel structurally somber on stage becomes a rich, emotionally complex storytelling on screen. The politics hit harder, the moral ambiguity digs deeper, and the parallels to our present-day world, the weaponization of media narratives, the othering of entire groups, the way a lie told enthusiastically becomes truth, land with uncomfortable accuracy. Jeff Goldblum's Wizard even drops the line, "People will believe what they want to believe," a line that was written decades ago but still feels like it was manufactured for us in 2025. Now, Wicked for Good doesn't reinvent these themes, it simply reveals how frighteningly present they've always been. So what about the music or the emotional punch? It was my biggest question going in. Would the film overcome Act 2's reputation for lacking fun? The short answer is yes. The longer answer is absolutely, emphatically, hell yes. Erivo and Grande's duo of For Good is astonishing, a soulful, controlled gut punch that rivals the emotional impact of Defying Gravity from Part 1. It's intimate, raw, beautifully staged, and without cinematic gimmicks. It's just 2 performers completely locked into character and into each other. The original number, The Girl in the Bubble, is the breakout. It feels tailor-made for Grande, not just as Glinda, but as Ariana, the artist, the celebrity, the woman who has lived inside her own metaphorical bubble for years. It's meta in the best way, personal without being indulgent, and it deepens Glinda's arc in ways the stage musical never really attempts. The music in this film isn't just performances, it's a way of life. In regards to that, let's touch on some of these performances. Of course, Cynthia Erivo is back as Elphaba. If Part 1 was her introduction, then Part 2 is her coronation. She brings fire, heartbreak, guilt, and fury, sometimes all inside a single scene. Erivo understands Elphaba's internal war in a way few performers have ever captured. And I've said it before, I'm saying it again, Ariana Grande as Glinda is truly one of the best lived-in performances I've ever seen. It is so well entrenched that I can't tell where Glinda ends and where Ariana begins. She doesn't just fit Glinda, she reshapes her with vulnerability, regret, and emotional architecture. She's even better here than in her multi-nominated performance from last year, and she truly deserves some gold this time around. Erivo and Grande together are one of the great cinematic duos in modern film history, certainly of the musical genre. Jeff Goldblum's Wizard was much more impactful for me this time around also. Chu and the writers gave him something the musical rarely provides: purpose and understanding. His why finally emerges from behind the curtain, and it's surprisingly devastating. And there is one performance that no one seems to be talking about, but they should be, and that's Ethan Slater as Bach and eventually the Tin Man. Once his transformation occurs, Slater unleashes anger, sadness, and genuine emotional violence that hits like a freight train. He's not in the film as much as our leads, but when he shows up, he stamps himself on the narrative. And I hate to harp on it, but Michelle Yeoh as Madame Morrible, man, I'll be concise here. Wonderful actor, completely wrong for this role. It was even more glaring here than in part one. Her deadpan interpretation robs Morrible of her menace, her camp, and her theatrical snap. In relation to the craft, here's where things, at least awards-wise, can get interesting. This film was shot at the same time as part one, but it's unquestionably, in my opinion, the superior technical achievement. Cinematographer Alice Brooks corrects the biggest issue from part one for me, which was the hyper-saturated, neon-drenched aesthetic. Here, the color palette is grounded, cinematic, and atmospheric. Shadows and contrasts actually exist here. Oz feels like a real world again, not a screensaver. Production design and costuming are once again flawless. Every texture, every room, and every stitch feels built with intention. We also get 2 new original songs here, both complimentary of their performers' arcs, but The Girl in the Bubble is absolutely Oscar-bound. However, visual effects is the one major stumble. With more talking animals on screen, including the Cowardly Lion, and by the way, we should have gotten a lot more Coleman Domingo, guys. The CGI becomes distractingly artificial. When a practical lion suit from 1939 outshines your 2025 digital creation, that's not great. And I'm staying away from spoilers, but I'll just say it didn't end with the lion. A more practical approach would have elevated both the visuals and the overall charm of the film. Of course, you're in the garage, so let's talk Oscars. I see some people jumping ship already, or trying to get out in front of an imagined awards trajectory for Wicked at this point. However, I still firmly am riding the wave that this is a Best Picture player. It has the scope, the emotional resonance, the topical narrative, the fan base, and now the critical improvements over part one that I think solidifies its path forward. I also still have Erivo in my top 5 for lead actress, although admittedly that category is stacked. Ariana Grande is still my current frontrunner for supporting actress, and as long as industry support does not wane in the coming weeks, she is positioned beautifully in this moment. In some of the technical categories, the Academy may have a been there, done that fatigue, kind of, after nominating part one so heavily, but the improvements do warrant consideration. Things I mentioned like cinematography, production design, costumes, makeup, and of course the original song. Also, with the category of Best Casting debuting this year, Wicked for Good absolutely belongs in the inaugural lineup. The ensemble cohesion is undeniable, and if Michelle Yeoh ruins that for me, I will never forgive her. I'm just kidding, she's forgiven, I love her. So in coming to my summary, in a world where second halves, sequels, finales, part twos often collapse under the pressure, Wicked for Good rises to the occasion. It's more emotionally grounded, more narratively focused, and more thematically resonant than part one was. It corrects nearly every misstep, it deepens its characters, expands its world, and delivers a finale that genuinely earns the word triumphant. This 2-film saga now deserves to sit alongside films such as Chicago and West Side Story as one of the great stage-to-screen adaptations. John M. Chu didn't just translate a musical, he honored it, challenged it, and expanded its legacy. This is a franchise that will stand the test of time. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts on Wicked for Good. I know there's going to be a lot of discourse, and there already is, and the movie doesn't even come out for like 3 more days as I'm recording this. So I just want to remind everybody, please be nice to each other. Everyone is going to have different opinions about film, books, music, whatever the case may be. Art is subjective. If someone did not like Wicked as much as I obviously did, that's okay. Let's listen to their opinion, or if you don't want to, you can turn the channel. And I appreciate you tuning into this review. Let me know what you thought of Wicked for Good down below, or are you planning on seeing it? And what do you think of its Oscar prospects? Has anything changed in the last few days? Let me know that as well. I will see you guys out here next time in the garage.